Welcome to What AI Means, the podcast that asks scholars and creators about the significance of artificial intelligence for the world as they see it through the lenses of their disciplines and expertise. I'm Lee Spector, a professor of computer science at Amherst College, and today we'll be hearing from Miloslava Hruba, who's the study room manager and European print specialist at the Mead Art Museum at Amherst College. Mila Hruba, welcome to What AI Means.
Thank you very much, Lee.
Before we talk about AI, could you introduce yourself and tell us about the focus of your work?
So the Mead Art Museum is a teaching museum, and my role in the academic programs involves facilitating access to the museum over 21,000 collection of art and material culture items. So I'm opening the collection and storages for students and faculty, to scholars, to researchers, and public in general, to see, to admire, to learn from, to interpret, to enjoy.
Thank you so much. Now, today's AI might change how museums work and how museum studies are conducted, and how students are taught about museums. And those changes are important and worth discussing. But on What AI Means, we're primarily interested in hearing about how AI might change the nature of museums and museum studies.
Museums in general have been at the forefront of exploring how digital projects can enhance all the departments within the museum, which would be the curatorial, the collection management, the education, the interpretation. And art museums, because they're depositories of art, of the human creation and innovation, are sort of fitting into the realm of thinking of AI as the next step to innovation. But of course, there's more to it than just the initial excitement, like, oh my goodness, this tool, this is fantastic, it's creating it for me. But then we need to take the next step and start thinking about in more deep manner. And so art museums have been testing, they've been implementing, evaluating, and discussing AI applications over the last several years, more intensively, obviously, since the pandemic, where we kind of needed to step out from the physical walls of museums and heritage institutions and then stay online. And then we started seeing certain possibilities, but then also certain pitfalls. AI and conservation and restoration, it's been leaps and leaps into discovering what technology and AI in particular can do and how it can transform these subfield of museum world for authentication. So looking or archival research and bringing out information that will eventually help museum scholars and other scholars to find out about the true nature of an artwork and its maker. And then finally, maybe there's more for programming. So there is all the ways museums are trying to reach out to a wider audience, so that conservative attitude of museums are only for very educated people who will be able to absorb the eliteness of artwork that we hold. So now museums are the spaces that are welcoming for the widest audience possible, and trying to find out how to do it in the more welcoming way, in the more, okay, the museum is your space. Can you find yourself there? Can you see something you would just experience as you are, not as someone else is telling you? So for programming, there is a great opportunities for immersive experiences. And some of it leans towards more of an entertaining as well, but that's some of the pitfalls, or maybe like teasing it too far. And what we've tried, or we still are testing it in our collection online. And sort of the lenses that we are wearing is the lenses of blind people or a person who is visually impaired. And so how can we bring the Mead Art Museum, the collections, so that they can create their own images, sort of having the notion of what the artwork or material or culture item is, then run into or produce their own interpretation. But it also brought in the element of what Ethan Mollick calls the human in the loop, because we don't let AI running wild. We give guidelines, we engineer prompts, to use the computer technology, so that we know what we are asking, and we also know the constraints of the answer, from the number of words to how we want to see the object being described, so that we don't offer, for example, interpretations. We just want the visual description. And this is where I personally also stand. Let's use AI, but let's use it as a tool. And when it matters, when it gives something to us, to larger community.
Very interesting. There are many ways in which current AI is being used to extend what sounds like a continuum of how people have been thinking about what museums' jobs are and making use of technology. And I can see how this is providing a lot of great opportunities to further that mission in new ways. If I might, though, I'd like you to speculate briefly on much more capable AI might change the nature of museums and curation and exhibit design and the mission of museums. If we imagine, for example, that the AI systems of the near future are as capable as, say, the best humans in the field, which I don't think is the case right now. But if we can speculate, if their capabilities keep increasing, is there some way that you've been thinking about what museum work and museums might be like in that future?
So it's nice to speculate and dream. And of course, AI gives, sort of opens up the door. The object as it is, whether it's an artwork or whether it's a object that's been created by a human maker, is sitting somewhere in the museum, most likely in its storeroom, if it's not on display in an exhibition. I would like to see that museums would bring the object into life. And the sort of the immersive experience that I mentioned earlier is, for me, something that I would like to see myself, so that if there is a painting or if there is a chair, can I sit on the chair in a virtual reality setting? Can I see where the chair was? Who made it? Where was it? What is the wood? Where did it come from? For me, museums are spaces where, if I wanted to, I could really employ all my sensory suckers to really have a embodiment experience, personal experience of how it was. Even for a painting, all paintings, there is a smell. If I wanted to know and have that experience, wouldn't that be wonderful to have it? This sort of dream, I don't think it's like super out of the realm. And I think museum and scientists are on the way to do it.
That's a great vision. It's very exciting. My final question for you: what questions do you, from your perspective, think that we should all be asking about AI moving forward?
Yes, it's such a wonderful question. If we are ready to share our consciousness with artificial general intelligence, are we ready to share our world with it? It's like, UFOs. We're looking into the planetary systems for any other intelligent beings, but we are creating, or we are on the way to create one here. But are we asking about our own control? I think we humans, we like to control, and power is a big thing. So who and how is going, and is it even controllable? So then we would have to turn back and say, well, we are okay having another intelligent being, and we will have to share. And I sort of, in my mind, I think the sharing, the inclusivity, there's so many issues in our present society along those, like who is included, who is not, who has been historically and who is being excluded now. The kind of the trend continues. And yet we are thinking, dreaming about some other intelligent entity. And then what?
I love the way that your initial reactions to how this would affect art museums were mostly exciting new openings as long as they're used intelligently. Mila Hruba, thank you so much for joining us on What AI Means.
Thank you again for having me, and you're welcome.
What AI Means is a production of artificial intelligence in the liberal arts at Amherst College. For more information, see liberal-arts.ai.